a lot of ego, a lot of pride. And the one message that I want to convey over here is that there is no minimum job or there is no humiliating job. Every job is honorable. So even if you're doing cleaning or whatever it is that you feel like it's not at your level, just consider that as a stepping stone to move towards the job that you're dreaming of, okay? So no ego, no pride, no nothing, especially in these Western countries. That would not serve us well. So the second way of going around that gap would be to apply for the job that you may have shortlisted. And this might be a bit more challenging. It would be, once you apply for that job, find a way to convince the employer to hire you and to help you support the filling of those gaps that you need to fill, okay? The employer, if you manage to, the employer can assist, if you have something else to offer on the table, assist you into closing the gap that is open. But in any of these two cases that I just exposed to you, here in Europe, I would say 95% of the people will need a job to support themselves, to sustain their livelihood. So in any case, the advice that I was privileged enough to be given to you today would be very relevant for the job hunting or promotion. So, let's start with the CV preparation aspect. So, first thing, when you're looking for a job, all of us can go to internet or make some phone calls and see what job offers are out there in the market and see what employers would be needing to grow their organizations, etc., etc. So in terms of CV preparation, this is the very first step. You need to study those job offers and study them very well. Check every word that is written over there. Try to understand what those words pertain to. Sometimes a simple word can sort of unroll a number of principles behind. And so it's really important to actually sit down and understand what all of those nice, simple words entails to. And from there, you can start preparing your CV, but the CV has to be tailored to each job offer that you may be interested in. Or said differently, if you are applying for several positions, you must have as many CVs as those positions. Let me say it again in a different way. If you're applying for 10 jobs in 10 different companies, ideally you have 10 different CVs that are matching for those 10 jobs, okay? I would even go a bit further, if I may, by saying that if you're applying for 10 positions in the same company, I have 10 CVs for those 10 positions. The CV must be tailored to the position that you are hunting for. So whether it's a first-time job hunting or a promotion, your CV must reflect what is being placed in the offer that you are chasing. So why is it important, at least in my humble opinion, to tailor each CV to the job that you're hunting for? It's simply because each job offer is different. The words that are being used over there are different. The technical skills that would be required are different. Even if it's within the same company, the company itself is different. The values of the company which you would be looking into getting in are different. So your CV must reflect all of those, okay? So of course, in other words, you cannot afford sending the same CV which was not tailored to 10 different positions. I mean, you will make a joke out of yourself, you will be mocked, even though the employers might not even tell you. Sometimes they will not even answer to you, most of the time in this case, if I may. And, but more importantly, there is a risk of incompatibility And I mean, your CV would not be tailored enough for the job that you would be applying for if it's the same CV every time that you're sending. Any questions? Okay, I will take the resounding silence as a no. Now, next point concerning the CV. I already touched that in a previous point. So for each job, each CV must contain the words of the job offer. Otherwise, you will not gain traction once your CV is in the company. All right? So if the job offer, I am speaking, I mean, not only the word of the job offer, but also the word of the market or the industry sector. So this way, you would be telling the company where you're applying to, or the position owner where you're applying to, that, hey, I know what I want, I know I have the skills that you're looking for, and you can see that from my CV. So ideally, use the same words or the same lexical field, if I can say so. Okay, I mean, if you're applying for, I don't know, accounting, and you do not necessarily know what is crediting or debiting and whatnot, if those words are written in the offer and they do not appear in your CV, that might be challenging, because then the person reading the CV might be wondering if you really have the skills of that. Now, it's fine if you don't have the skills, and we can talk about that later. I mean, I already touched base into that. You have ways of going around them. But it's important that your CV reflects at least some of the words that are present in the offer, or the lexical field of all of that. Does that make sense to you, or? Okay, so I would be then moving to the next point. Sorry, just looking at my notes. Yes, so I am guilty for having done what I'm about to say. We fall a lot in the trap of being obligated of putting all our past experiences in CVs. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it doesn't add value to your application. So we really need to discern what would be of value adding and what would be not of value adding. Remember, the CV is actually the first document that an employer would be seeing of you. So if you're putting things over there, especially if it's on the first page, that are useless, he will just next. So think very carefully before putting some of the job experiences that you've had in the past, but that may not be relevant to the job position that you're applying for. Usually the advice that I would be given pertaining to that is, so if you've had a job in the past, whether it's in sales or whatever, and you applying for, I don't know, finance, accounting, all right, what were the skills that you have gained in that sales job that you've done in the past that you can translate into the financing or the account position? Just transfer those skills, and you do it in a very diligent way, basically. But I just wanted to put a bit of a caution over there. So yes, leverage the skills that you've gained in the past work experience, which would be relevant to the offer that you'll be answering to. Spell those skills out in the CV. Okay? Use, again, the same lexical field, the same words in the job offer, or bridge them together so that it appears very, very clearly in the CV, and, if possible, the letter of motivation that you may be writing for your employer, future employer. In terms of CV, what I would say as well is that keep in mind that when you're hunting for a job or a promotion, you are a salesperson. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because you would be selling your skills and you will be selling your time to an employer who is willing to pay for them. So very important to wear that hat of, I'm a salesperson and I'm coming to sort of sell my time and my skills, which, the other party is interested in. And of course, at the beginning of this, of my intervention, I said that the ideal would be to be the perfect matching pair between the employer and the employee. So in this case, sell your skills and show them that you are the perfect matching pair. So as I was saying, in most cases, the employers have never seen us. For those of us hunting for a job here in Malta for the first time, employers do not know us. Even if I'm changing companies, most probably my next employer has never seen me. It's very unlikely that the employer had already seen me in the past, right? So the CV in question would be the very first identity sort of document that he would see of you, and it has to be interesting. Otherwise, he would just, you know, toss it in the grinder and that's it. He would forget completely about you. So point here is to what's the word? I forgot the word actually. But to optimize, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. To optimize the CV in a way that it becomes interesting for your employer. The second aspect that employers usually use when they do not know you yet. Yes? Yes. Okay. Just a second, please.
You mentioned that it's very important that we use words from the job advert in our CV. Why is that something we should do? Because to me, it looks like you just copy some words from the job description and just
paste.
Why is that something we should do?
Okay, thank you for the question, and it's a very valid one. So the reason, and I will come to that at a later stage in reality, but it's a very good question. So these are, the job offer is a document that has been edited by a company to attract candidates. Okay? So if you do not understand or respond back with the same words or similar words that they have used, there would always be that question mark in their mind saying, has this guy really understand what I am really looking for? Am I answering your question? Does it make sense? I mean, let me give you another example, and I hope it would be much clearer sort of in your mind. I'm running a company, an airline company, and I am looking for an airline captain, okay? And then I am receiving somebody in my office, or let me say it this way, I am having a CV on my desk for that very same position, but the person is applying as a sailor. These have nothing to do with each other, basically. So, obviously, I exaggerated a bit in purpose, but it's for you to see that if the person, if the applicant does not use similar language as I am, we would not be understanding each other. Have I answered your question, sir, or do you need more? Sure? You don't look sure. Okay. So moving back to where I was. So yes, I was saying the first identity sort of document that the employer would be using is your CV. That's the first thing that he sees about you. So it must be optimized, it must be relevant for you, and it must be not just relevant for you, most importantly relevant for his organization that he's trying to grow. And he wants to make sure that you're the matching pair that he's looking for, the perfect candidate, okay? The second area where he would be looking into you, I talk a lot, so please stop me if I'm going over time, would be your social media. The social media. We'll get into that shortly. But what I would say is that the social media, your personal social media, or even your professional ones, if you have any, would be a source of information for them. So you need to pay attention to the information that you're putting on the social media. I have already been, I have witnessed, actually I will speak about my own example so I do not expose any particular company over here. I was hired in a company in the past, so I was already hired. My probation period was passed, etc., etc. That was 10 years ago, okay? And then once upon a time, my line manager, who was the general manager of the company, called me in his office. I didn't understand why. And in fact, he had called a lot of employees. And the one that went before me, I asked him, hey, why did he call you for, etc., etc. And he told me that the manager in question was questioning. Okay? that the manager was questioning the fact that he was dressed as a terrorist on his Facebook page. So questions were raised there. Now, and here is my next point. In my case, back then, I did not have a Facebook account, right? So I would think, okay, I'm relatively safe because I don't have a Facebook account, and therefore he cannot interrogate me on something that I do not have, right? As a matter of fact, he did. He asked me, how come an 18, 19-year-old person like you doesn't have a Facebook account? Everybody has a Facebook account, but you don't. So that raised questions in his mind. So I'm not saying do not have any social media. I am saying have one, if possible. In this world nowadays, you can't do without it in any case. But pay attention to what you're posting on it. Right? So once your CV is done, the next step that you would have to do would be to communicate it to the company that you're targeting, where you're targeting a position into. And therefore, you would be wondering, who shall I send the CV to? So sometimes in job offers and job applications, etc., you would have the info on where to apply, how to apply. Sometimes it's online, sometimes they would communicate an email address that you are requested to use to do your formal application in that. And it is not bad. I would ask you, obviously, to use that email address or follow those steps. The challenge of that is that, at least from what I have noticed, is that that email address that will be posted in the job offers, they are usually generic email addresses, which is, I don't know, hr@companyname.com. It's very generic. You don't know who is running that email address. You don't know. I mean, a lot of people send emails to that same email address. Your competitors, who would be also hunting for the same position, by the way, would send emails to that same email address and whatnot, right? But I would still encourage you to send your application using that email address. And the reason why I still encourage you to do that, it's not the only thing that I would encourage you to do. The reason why I'm encouraging you to send that application to that generic email address is because in some companies, when you do not follow those steps, that is grounds for disqualification. And you do not want to be disqualified over a stupid mistake like this, something that you might not even have known. So follow that step, but then I'm going to give you something even more, in my opinion, more effective into making sure that your CV and your application ends in the right hands, okay? And I think this would be valuable to you. So if I can just check my notes. Yes, I was saying generic email addresses, all your competitors have those email addresses. So you're not bringing value. It's not value adding for you to send an email, your application to that generic email address, okay? Another disadvantage is that your application would be lost in the pile of other applications with your competitors, so it's not exactly favorable for you. Usually it's on a first come, first served basis as well. And please, please, never assume that you're the first applicant for a job that was opened, all right? Your bid or your application would also take much longer to be processed, if it is even processed at all, because keep in mind that, hey, you're on top of a pile, but other people might apply after you as well. So if the person running that generic email address even comes to you, then okay, you're blessed, but there is a very high possibility that they never reach your application in the first place, because they would have seen hundreds of those, and they just decided that, okay, in the first 100 that I have seen, I have decided to shortlist 10 people. Now, if you're the 101st application, that cut-out line limit, unfortunately, you will not be even considered, although you did the step properly, okay? Am I making sense? Or, okay. And, yeah, the generic email address manager, I manage a generic email address. And one thing that I can confess of is that it's not necessarily my priority. I have other priorities. I have a personal email address, I have a professional email address, and then I have a generic professional email address. That generic professional email address, I check it the last thing during the day, so after a long day of probably 14 hours, and you would understand that at that moment I would just want to go home and sleep, obviously. So I would have other priorities, and I'm pretty sure that if I'm feeling the same, managers of those generic email addresses would be feeling the same as well. So in essence, you do not know who is managing that generic email address. But again, I'm giving you this advice, friendly advice. If the offer demands you to use it because it can be ground for disqualification. Right? Don't just use it, but use it. Okay? The other aspect that I would say, and this is where it's more effective in my opinion, is that you must target the decision-making people in the company that you are applying into. Okay? Decision-making people for the job that you are applying to. Usually there are at least two of those. There is the HR manager and there is actually the hiring manager. If you're applying in a quality department, for example, usually it would be the quality director or the quality, if you're applying for a quality engineering job, usually it would be the quality manager or the quality director or whatever. He would be the hiring manager. The HR would be there to support him. Okay? So these are the people you would want your CV and your application to land on their desk, and not just in the hr@companyname.com email address. Okay? Am I making sense? Okay. And your next question would be, how would you know the names of the hiring manager and the HR manager? I think it's a fair question to ask. Sometimes you won't have 99.9% of the cases when you're having an offer, those names are not listed there in those offers, let alone their email addresses or ways to contact them. So it's a fair question. This is where you use social media. You have a social media account, don't just watch TikTok videos and whatnot just for fun. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying use it with purpose, okay? So in developed countries, Malta considered as a developed country, Western country, I mean first world countries as I call them, 95% of them, of companies present in those countries have a social media account. Go look for it, look them up there, okay? They would be present, that's for sure, in 95% of the cases. So all it would cost you is a bit of your time and you having a social media account if you're not a social media frenzy like I am, basically. And even better, a lot of people have professional social medias, basically. I have a profile in LinkedIn. I'm not an HR manager, I'm not a hiring manager, but I do have an HR. Every HR, usually in Western countries, they have a LinkedIn account, all right? So, I'm coming to that. You can also, if you know the names of the people that will be hiring you, but we'll get to the case where you don't know the names, you can go to their personal profiles as well, Instagram, Facebook, so you get to know them. Some of them, they have their employer's name over there. Right? I know a lot of people, friends of mine, who have a Facebook account, and they will put the name of their employers, and sometimes they would even put the position that they're occupying in the company. I am pretty sure that the people in the company that you would be applying into would have something similar. Maybe not on Facebook, but on LinkedIn for sure. And remember when I said a while ago that employers look at your social media account? Yeah. So they do that, you do the same. Simple as that. It's the game. Everything is fine. I mean, let me say it in a more clear way or maybe in a funnier way if you allow me. They are looking you up to protect their businesses, okay? They don't want anybody that could be a danger, again, to their businesses. Now, in your case, you hunting for a job or for a promotion or whatever it is, and by the way, business owners that have employees, I don't think they would disagree with me over here, okay? They are looking their employees up in the social media to make sure that their business is safe, okay? Now, in your case, who is looking for a job or for a promotion or whatever it is, all right? This is your livelihood that you're talking about. Look them up too. I mean, this is your livelihood. I mean, if employers are capable of doing that for their own businesses, which is not necessarily their livelihood, how much more you who need the job to sustain your life? here in this Europe. Do the same. To get more into detail as to getting the name of the decision-making people, that will be the HR and the hiring manager as a minimum, okay? The tool that I use the most is LinkedIn. So I have a LinkedIn account, actually I have 2 of those. I don't post very much on it. I only use it for 95% either because I am job hunting or I am benchmarking the market, my skills against the market. Okay. But you would not see me posting things or not, no. I use it mostly for job hunting or benchmarking. So I highly encourage you to do the same. Have a LinkedIn account. A free account is fine, basically. My accounts are free, by the way. So you have a version that you can pay, but a free account is more than enough for what I'm about to tell you. Okay? So you go on LinkedIn. You look those companies up, companies where you're targeting a position. In most cases, they are there, present, okay? You start looking at the profiles of the people that are working for those companies. Look at their profiles. In most cases, not only the name of the company would be listed on the profile, but they would also have the job that they are occupying on those profiles as well. On my LinkedIn, I have my job position over there, by the way. So, and I am not a hiring manager, and I'm not HR either, okay? The reason why I'm telling you this is because that's where you are going to be finding the decision-making people in the company that you're targeting. First, you look for the company, and then you analyze the profiles of the people that are actually working for the company. And then if you see somebody that may be matching a hiring manager to you or an HR, you list them down, you note them down. Very important. Note their names and their surnames. Very, very important. Okay? As I said, if you're looking to work in a quality department, go chase down a quality manager or a quality director or I don't know, but somebody in that area. Go chase down the HR manager or HR director. If you're looking to be working as a salesperson, the same way, go and chase the sales manager or whatever. Right? Something that will be relevant for the job application that you're hunting for. And then the next step would be to be looking for their email address because you still need to send that CV to somebody, right? And you need to make sure that it lands on the right desk, right? So you'll be looking to send an email to the right person, not just to that generic email address, but also to the right person, or a contact, a phone number, something, okay? Oftentimes than not, the email addresses can be found on LinkedIn. But sometimes they are not, and it is fine. You can also go around that. The first thing that I would do is to, even on the offer, sometimes the email address are written in the offer, so pay attention. Remember when I said study the offer? So that's one of the things you need to list down on it. So in case you do not have that specific email address, one thing that you can do is to find, where is it? I'm just making sure that I'm not forgetting anything over here. Yes, you need to find the nomenclature of the company's email address. Is it surname.name.com, surname.name@companyname.com? Is it name.surname@companyname.com? Is it first letter of the name, surname @company name? So you need to find the nomenclature of the email, all right? You would have already have the name and the surname of the decision-making people. Right now, all you need to have is the nomenclature or the format of the email address of the company, okay? And from that, LinkedIn can give you the information. Right? Sometimes the offer can give you the information as well. You may not know, but sometimes it is. You can use word of mouth. If you know someone who works in the company, just ask them, what is the format of your email address, your professional email address? I'm not asking you for your email address, but what is the format of it? Is it surname.name? Is it name.surname@company? What is it? Okay. Ask, investigate, and when I am out of options, the one thing that I usually do, because you may not know anyone working in the company, you may not know, LinkedIn LinkedIn may not give you the information, the offer may not give you the information. So when I've never been there, honestly. So, but if I were to find myself, my back against the wall, the one thing that I would be bold enough to do, and again, this is my livelihood that I'm talking about, okay? Grab my phone, call the company. Hey, I'm trying to contact this person in the company. May I ask you nicely to give me their email address? Most companies like advertising themselves. Most of the time they won't say no. Okay? Am I making sense so far? Are you learning something or? Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, once you have all of that information, then you press send on that email. Email including your CV. Do not forget to use that generic email address that was present in the offer, but you also put the decision-making people in that email list that you're going to send. Okay? Of course, if you can, in Malta it's not necessarily mandatory. I haven't seen it working as much as other European or Western countries. Add a motivation letter, if you can. Okay? I tend not to be honest, not in Malta. In other countries I have, and it worked very fine, but in Malta it's not necessarily of value from the observation that I have made. And then you follow up. Follow up not more than once per week, basically, until, the follow-up must continue. So by the way, you do that for each application, right? Remember, you would have shortlisted 10 potential applications from the beginning, so you follow these steps that I'm going to give you for each single application, right, where you'll be applying. The email is sent. After 1 week, you have no response. Follow up, send a reminder, make a phone call. You must follow up until you find yourself in one of these positions that I'm going to list. Either you get a conviction from God, from the Holy Spirit, that the job is not yours, and in that case, stop, because it's a waste of your time and your energy, okay? Or one of the other jobs into which you have applied that you deemed would be more interesting than the one on which you're still waiting a response, have answered in a positive way, okay? Have answered in a positive way, and then in this case, you may stop, okay? Or, last point for you to follow up, you just receive a no, a negative response. Okay? So, when you receive a negative response, do make sure, this is always an advice, do make sure to ask if there were anything that you could improve in your application, or et cetera, right? Ask them what failed me, why was I not shortlisted? Companies also appreciate that because they see the possibility in you wanting to learn, right? You can take criticism, and that's fine. In Europe, remember when I said ego would not work over here? That's typically that, okay? And once all of that is done, and this is where I would be concluding very soon. I'm hearing I have less than 5 minutes left. Now you get ready for an interview. So all of that research that you would have done upstream, the company, the people, decision-making people that you would have looked up on social media, you would have all the information that you would need to start preparing for an interview, all right? You would understand your pain points, the job offer will tell you that. You would also understand what are their hobbies, their personal social media will tell you that, okay? You would understand the value of the company, LinkedIn would tell you that. You should have every single thing to prepare for an interview. One thing that I would say as well, the interview is not just you being received in a room and then people are asking you questions. No. The interview starts from the email, that first email that you sent, basically, right? So consider it as always a test. Sometimes the reason why I'm mentioning this is because sometimes decisions have been made even before the formal interview has started. I have witnessed cases where a woman has come, applied, she was welcomed in a company for an interview, okay? And we were talking about the African culture a while ago where everybody always comes late and whatnot. This lady, she did everything by the book so far. She came 20 minutes in advance. And because she had 20 minutes in advance, the hiring manager, as well as the HR manager, invited her in the kitchen for a coffee. Don't you dare believe that you're not assessed over there. Every word that you're saying around the coffee can be turned against you. The reason why I am saying this is because this lady made the mistake of saying that she was newly wedded. Now, in the mind of the hiring manager, he understood she may make babies soon. We cannot hire her. That was over a coffee. The formal interview had not started yet. But there and there, basically, the decision was made. All right, so that's why I'm saying, even from the first email that you guys are sending, consider yourself as an interview. When somebody shakes your hand in that front door, you are being interviewed, basically. All right, so you will test it all the time. Unfortunately, time would make me conclude over here, but I have so many more things to say, maybe for another time. But I think I have delivered the core of my message. As I said, as a job hunting person, you are a salesperson, all right? Business owners, I believe you're a business owner, correct? They always have this one sentence, KYC, know your customer. When you're reaching an interview, you must know the people that are interviewing you. It's as simple as that. Right? You must know what are their challenges. You must know what makes them, if possible, tick without them knowing that you know. Okay? And that way, you can prepare for the questions that they are going to ask and therefore decide what will be the right answers for you to give. You need to make sure that you're that perfect matching pair, basically. All right, so once you prepare for all of that, you show up at the interview and you show to them that, hey guys, I understand your problem. Here is the solution that I can offer, because during the preparation stage, you had already listed all of those. Okay? And then they would find you as the perfect match for the company. But the interview is just a formality. Okay? I mean, I've seen some people reaching out into interviews where they haven't studied the company, but the company had their CVs. I mean, you're giving ammunition to a company to shoot you during an interview, but you come unprepared. My mom was a soldier. One of the things that soldiers say is you don't go to enemy ground without knowing what is waiting for you over there. So when you go in an interview with just your CV having been sent, without you studying the company, etc., you're going in enemy's ground without knowing what is waiting for you there. Okay? I would stop here for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. During your presentation, you mentioned something, benchmarking. I was wondering, how do you do that? Is it a manual comparison of your skill sets with what some big guys have, or is there a tool you use to do that in particular? Thank you.
So you have several ways of doing that, all right? And to be honest with you, I just mentioned it, if you remember me during this presentation, more of a side joke than, part of this. To be honest with you, I only do that because I want to assess the market with my skills. This is my dream job, okay? I know what skills are needed for the dream job, but in 2 years from now, that skill sets in that dream job may evolve, all right? So I'm making like a regulatory watch to see where I am standing against the dream job that I have. Now, I believe as of now, I am occupying my dream position. Now, you may be wondering, why am I doing this? I have competitors. I need to know where they're standing, and I need to see, to match and even exceed what they are proposing in the market. Have I answered your question? Okay.
Just to add to that, Another thing you can do is, basically this is what I do. I go to LinkedIn, look for my dream position like she mentioned, and I see the skills in which they have or something they have that I don't have. I work towards it. Now, the other thing I do is I start applying for that dream job from that moment, even if I know I might not get it. But surprisingly, you might be called for an interview. But you are attending that interview. You might even be lucky, you might get the job at that time, but I would not advise you to take it because you're not experienced to handle that kind of job. But most likely, you might not get it. But you have started preparing yourself towards that job by attending that interview. So you know the series of questions and things you might get when you get to that position. This is my strategy and this is what I do always. That's why you see me most of the time, I'm always job hunting. Not because I want to change position, but I want to see what is actually happening. Okay, fine, I'm a senior accountant now. How do I become a financial controller? I start applying for financial controller jobs to even see if my current skill can get me an interview, you know. And then you start applying that strategy. This is what I do on a daily basis.
Thank you very much for that. And in fact, that's what I was saying from the very beginning. If you have this dream job, okay, and then you check what are the needs of the market, and you see that the gap between the market need and your skill set is in your disfavor, you have two ways of catering for that. Either you find a job as a stepping stone, which was the first one, or the second way, as I was saying at the very beginning, is you still apply for the job and you find a way to convince that employer to help you close that gap. And I believe that's what the gentleman was saying right now.
Praise the Lord. One other thing I would like to add, not really a question now, is also as regards to LinkedIn. I think cold emails work a lot. There are a lot of people that just connect with. I remember the period when I was applying for a job then. In Nigeria then, when I connect with HRs, because I like to connect with HRs, so most times when I connect with them, they don't connect back. But I noticed that when I came to Malta then, when I connect with HRs, they connect back. I told my husband then that, these people don't look like these Nigerians that don't like to connect with basic people. So most times when I connect with those people, I try to write out, like, sell myself to some extent. And then some read it, they got back to me then. Sometimes they don't. But I just reach out to them. Just that cold email. I think it works as well. It is important as well to like send a cold email to people like that. Praise the Lord.
Networking. Yeah.
Because I've listened to you a lot, kind of testimony. Can you please quickly, how fast you can speak about your availability compared to what your pay?
Compared to?
Availability at work compared to your pay, the paycheck. And how does it get in regards to promotion as well? Because I know I've heard you say it a lot, and I know the kind of work you do for the company. So like a testimony and your own experience, how you get to where you are now.
Pastor, you've put me in a very difficult position. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. What I would say, and thank you for giving me the opportunity of doing this, is that this blueprint, I would start by saying this blueprint that I just exposed to you is the same one that I myself have been using to job hunting, okay? The current job, so the current company where I'm working right now here in Malta, the way I got that job was obviously using this blueprint, but just for you to have an idea of the results that I have had, so I applied in, I believe it was some 25 companies, okay? 24 out of those 25 gave me a response, yes or no, which is fine. Okay, so that last one, I decided not to pursue it because I had already had the position that I was actually targeting, my favorite one, okay? Now, those that said no, it is fine, I took the feedback and everything, and I noted it down. Those that have said yes, there were 13 of them that said, okay, we would like for you to come for an interview. And because I had applied this blueprint, at the end, all 13 of them wanted to work with me. This is almost 100% achievement, right? So I was now in a position where I had to choose which one I wanted. Okay? That's because I came prepared. Now, I don't know what testimony the pastor would like me to say, but what I can say as well in terms of promotion, etc., is that maybe I would mention this very quickly. With this new job, I had a promotion within 1 year, really and truly. And just for you to understand how sort of bad it was, I told you a while ago that sometimes a decision would have been made before you actually go and sit down on that interview. In my case, it was even worse. The job for that promotion that I am occupying today, by the way, all right, so this is all glory to God, is that job was created specifically for somebody in the company. So I had zero chance in reality. They took the profile of you, for example, they created the job tailored to your profile, okay? And then me, without knowing, I just applied. I asked for the blessing of my manager, who gave it to me, zero problem, all right? Later on, I understood why this could have happened, basically. Now, this is my personal opinion. I think I was maybe set up to miss that chance because the job wasn't mine, in reality. The job was created for somebody else. I was competing within the same company with 30 people. At the end, the hiring manager came to me and he said, there were 3 finalists. Honestly, you were number 3 on my list. I only had 1 person for this position, but I chose to go with you. I'm not saying it is all because of what I did. I believe there was also the grace of God over there, definitely.